Welcome, seekers of the unknown, to the threshold of the unexplained. Tonight we embark on a journey into the shadows, where the veil between the worlds is at its thinnest. I'm your host, Don Riffle of Into the Unknown. Tonight we got a very special guest that'll be appearing very shortly. Her name is Angel Rae. So, just in time we'll get to her. She's written many books over the years. She's a top seller in a lot of her publications and so on. So we're going to get down and ask her some questions when she's on. I always come on a little early, this way I get things up and going. So if you have any questions tonight, feel free to ask. So she should be coming on very shortly. Give her some time, she'll be here. So, hello, sister. Oh, Angel, I'm trying to get you up here. There we've been invited. I'm feeling pretty good myself there, Shanny. How about yourself? How's it over there in England? Hello, how are ya?
I'm good. I can see me, but I don't see you.
I know I don't see you either, but I can hear you. That's weird.
I don't know.
You got a little camera there. It's got the arrows going in a circle.
No. I mean, I got the invite.
Yeah, that's weird, Irene.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. And then at the end of the video, it's going to show both of us there, and I don't know why it does that.
So this is normal that we can't see each other?
Yeah, I've had that a couple times.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why. So, but the thing is, people can see us.
Yeah, that's the question. Can the audience see both of us?
Can you see us over there, sister?
Yeah, I've never done an interview like this. Okay, she says she can see us both. That's
okay. That's the good thing then.
Yeah, I guess that's the most important.
Yes. So I don't want to be discussing anything about myself tonight. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into anything?
Well, I am a writer. I am working on my 54th book. actually have 2 whips right now. And I just got done creating my 5th Oracle deck, and I still have to write the companion book for that. But so if you include the Oracle decks, I'm at 59 titles. So
59 titles. Wow.
yeah, I've been busy.
I
I
hear you.
started writing in 2015. Well, I wrote before that, but I wasn't published until 2015. I wasn't even looking to be published, to be honest. I had reached out to a friend that is a celebrity, and she's also an author. She's been on TV and whatnot, and I contacted her because my mom had passed away in 2013, and my mom kept several journals, all kinds of information from astrology to tarot to paranormal. And
Right.
I wanted to put all of my mom's info into one book and use it as like a reference book for me. But when I reached out to my friend who was a published author, she says, you got some great stuff here. You should contact my publisher and see if they'd be interested in publishing you. And I was like, no, I'm not looking for that. I just want to print out a book. I just want to know how to print out a book for me to use. So she put me in contact with this publisher, thinking that they could help me put me in that direction. And next thing I know, they're offering me to publish my book, which ended up being so large that we had to split it up into 3 different books.
Yeah.
And that's how I came across Dark Moon Press. So I've been with them for 10 years. Last year, we had a meeting, and I was asked to come on as a partner and put my little magic into the company, which I've done. And this year, we've surpassed every personal goal that we've had for the company. So it's been quite the adventure going from not wanting to be published to co-owning a publishing company that published me to begin with. So it's been one heck of a ride. But other than that, I am a psychic medium. I am a spiritual advisor, paranormal consultant, divination reader, dog mom. And that's about it.
Okay. What drew you to the paranormal, and how did you get started in the field?
Oh, I didn't get started into the paranormal. The paranormal found me. My mom and her 2 sisters could communicate with spirits, all in different ways. They all had their own abilities, but so I was lucky enough to grow up with somebody that didn't push it off as my imagination, that didn't,
Yes.
tell me I was seeing things or hearing things that weren't there. Like I had a good support system between my mom and my aunties. But at age 8, I actually was in my mom's bedroom, and I was messing around with her jewelry, which I shouldn't have been. And um, I was looking in her mirror. I had like holding up a neck looked like on me. And in the mirror, I could see this mist form behind me in the corner, and it went from a mist to a full-bodied apparition. And at that time, I didn't know who it was. I knew it was a man, but I didn't know who it was. Well, later that night, I found out that it was actually my grandfather, who hadn't even passed yet. He was in the process of passing that day, and that's where my mom was. That's why I had the ability to go in her room and snoop around, and get into her jewelry, because she was at the hospital. I didn't know my grandfather. She kept him away from me, so I had never met him, didn't know who he was. And like I said, I was 8 years old, so all I knew was there was a man that just appeared in my mom's room in the mirror. He had his arms crossed, like he was angry with me, probably because I was doing something I shouldn't have been. And yeah, later that night found out, ooh, I'm sorry, I got a high pitch ringing in my ear. Somebody's trying to talk to me. Um, Later that night, I found out that he had actually passed around 10:15 in the evening. So I actually saw his essence or his energy imprint before he even passed. And that's when my mom was like, okay, you have abilities, but you have something that none of us have. And, it kind of struck her odd that I could see somebody that was in the process of dying. Um, and it just went from there. I was mentored and I was taught how to develop my skills, how to stay safe, and how to help the spirits, because my mother always believed that people like us have gifts. We're not just here to help the living, but we're here to help the dead as well. So from 8 years old, I learned how to communicate with them and see them. And then by the time I was 13, I was on my first investigation with my mom, and I haven't stopped since. And I just turned 52 this year, so I've been in it for a long time.
Yes, that is quite a long time. Longer
Yeah.
than me.
The thing is, though, a lot of adults, they don't find their path within the paranormal until later in life, and it's usually because they have parents or family that, shrug off any abilities that they have. Or, I've seen grown adults tell their children, you're crazy, you're imagining it, that's it's not happening. And then I've seen religious folks tell their children, well, that's the devil, or, that's not good. You don't want to communicate with the spirits. And, so I had it lucky. I had a mom that knew my abilities, knew how to help me develop them, and she was proud of them. So
Yeah, she was more like a coach to you.
she was, yeah.
Yes. Which is kind of nice,
It was, yeah.
especially when it's family.
Yep. Yeah, because I knew to trust her. I mean, I had been around it all my life. My ear is ringing again. Jeez, oh man. Um, yeah, I used to be around when her and her sisters would have seances, or just sit down and try and communicate with spirits that needed help. So I had been around it all my life. So I've never been fearful of it ever. And I've been
Yes.
through some crazy experiences, but never been afraid of it.
So, what was your best-selling book, and what was it about?
My best-selling book, and it's one of the best-selling, it's on the bestsellers list actually. It's Conversations with the Dead. It's a two-book series, and um, it's paranormal. It's just explains my story. I give a little advice and tips in it, and I also talk about certain locations that I have been to, experiences that I've come across, and it's always been one of my most sold books. The first one is Conversations with the Dead, Into the Darkness, and the second one is Into the Darkness, Paranormal Destination. So they're great books. Everybody just loves them, and I sell a lot of those at conventions that I'm at.
Okay. So I was reading earlier in the bio you sent me that you had 88 private mediumship cases.
Yeah, I just actually went on my 88th case about 2 months ago in Ohio. Um, and it was fairly easy. When you are a part of that in the paranormal, doing private cases, you develop a routine, and you know what to look for, you know what to pay attention to and be aware of. Um, and it wasn't long that we were there and we figured out, what the issue was. And it was more or less, it wasn't a haunting by any means, and most of them they're not. It's just spirits that want to be acknowledged and sometimes need to be taught how to coexist with us. But in
Yeah.
this It was a woman and her children, two children that have abilities, but the dad and the father um, is not only skeptical but kind of religious and wants them to not pursue what their abilities are. So he's kind of suppressing their gifts. And the spirits that know that they have these gifts want to communicate with them, but the father figure, you know, the male in the household is stopping it. So it's upsetting, you know, it was upsetting the spirits. So they were reacting to it, you know, acting out like most people do when they don't get their own way. And it was pretty easy to figure out. The one cool thing about it was I developed this oracle deck that I designed it specifically for paranormal investigating. And you pull the cards just like you would any other, you know, divination deck. And the point of it is to allow you to know, you know, if you have a male spirit, a child, a female, what kind of equipment you should be using. You know, it just kind of reads the energy in the atmosphere and lets you know where you should be looking, what you should be doing. And we had pulled three cards, and the whole time, the woman that called me in, she was sure that it was a man or a male spirit that was there. We went in there thinking that. Well, we used my cards, and the cards told us it was maybe 10 minutes later, we got evidence using the ghost box, but a woman's presence showed up, and one of the ladies' mom that was there, she was very upset because she was being held back from communicating. And it was just one of them instances where, you know, if you listen to your client, sometimes that's not always a good idea because you go into that with a preconceived notion, okay, I'm dealing with the male spirit because that's what they said. That wasn't the case at all. It was a female spirit, and we got evidence to validate that after we pulled the cards. So that was my last one, and I just got called on another one. Unfortunately, this month is crazy, so I'll have to get to my 89th case next month. But yeah, I love doing private cases. It's because it's more to help people that are scared, don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So they call me in.
So what basic areas do you cover? Like the area of basically how many miles would you travel just to help somebody, you know, and
Um,
whatnot?
well, I'm in Pennsylvania, and we have a lot of bordering states. So it depends. The furthest I've ever gone for a private case was about 400 miles. But it involved children, and a lot of physical harm was coming to happen with the family. So I tried to get other people to handle it that was in the area. It just wasn't, I couldn't get anybody to go and handle the case. And I got so worried about the children that so my friend and I got in the car, and we drove all the way almost to Toledo, Ohio, um, to deal with it. And I'm glad we did because I ended up having to call in one of my friends that is a priest and ask them to come in and help me exercise the house because it was pretty bad. And that's probably one of the worst cases that I've been on.
On any of these cases or a past experience, have you ever been scared yourself?
No, I think that is because I was taught at such a young age not to be afraid of, you know, spirits, no
Exactly.
matter no matter the energy. I always knew growing up that I'm always in control. That's people don't think about that. When you're on an investigation or you're dealing with a spirit, there are rules, and we are always in control of our own destiny, even when it comes to spiritual activity. So I grew up, you know, having that confidence and knowing how to protect myself. So no, I've never, not on a private case, not, I've investigated over 300 different locations. Um, Not once have I ever been scared or spooked, or I've been startled, um, but not scared. No.
Yes, I hear you there. That's what I keep trying to tell people, because a lot of times I've heard them say, "I've seen a ghost," and I said, "Well, what did you do?" And they usually say, "Well, I hid under my covers. I was scared." And it's like, why be scared?
Right.
Like, I know it's frightening at first, but usually when you confront them, they're not going to come back after.
No, and I've never been harmed. I mean, after all these years, I've had my hair tugged, I've been pinched, but it was never done in a malicious way. It was to get my attention. I've never found a demon hiding in a closet or a basement or anything like that. And I'm not trying to downplay demonic activity. It's just not as common as people try to make it out to be.
Yes.
And in all these years, I've never, ever, ever come across something like that, a demon or anything like that. I've come across some pretty nasty entities and very sadistic entities, but nothing demonic.
What would you say would be your most favorite place you've ever investigated?
Hmm. I have two, and the one is because it's close to my heart. I grew up north from. I'm in Pittsburgh right now, but I grew up north, towards Erie, and there's a hotel called the Hotel Conneaut. Um, there is a long, long history with it. My grandmother was killed in a kerosene explosion right behind the hotel in 1940. And the hotel started this, they had this rumor, of this woman that died in the hotel from a fire, and that wasn't the case. Somehow along the lines, my grandmother's story got mixed in with this fictional story. And a few years ago, I was on an episode of Ghost Hunters with Jason Hawes and Steve and Tango and them, and they contacted me because of the story of my grandmother. So I sent them the articles and everything, and I was on the show about the hotel. And my grandmother actually came through and let them know that she was there, and that she knew that I was, being conversed with on the show and everything about the hotel. But that would probably, and that was my first investigation at 13. My mom took me to the hotel for my very first one. And then the second place would be Hinsdale in Hinsdale, New York. Dan Klaus, he owns it. He's a very good friend of mine, an amazing person. And I first went to his location shortly after meeting him. I went there in May of 2017, and we had the most phenomenal night. There were me and four other women, and we still talk about it to this day, the experiences we had. Normally, when you go to a place, you don't get a lot of activity, especially the first night. Not
Yeah.
this place. We didn't sleep because there was so much going on, and the spirit activity is just, it's nonstop. And Hinsdale, it's not just paranormal. We've seen strange things in the sky. We've heard strange things in the woods, not ghost related. We've captured pictures of, they talk about a witch in the woods. We actually got a picture of her. And you can see her hat, you can see her face, and she's holding out her hands, and in both of her hands are two glowing orbs. It's one of the most, it's just phenomenal. It's in one of the books that I was talking about earlier, that's my bestsellers. We put the picture of the witch in the second book. And Dan and I are actually working on his second book about Hinsdale. and he happens to be an author of Darkman Press as well. And we're going to include that picture in his book too, because it's too great to pass up.
So
So
that's in
yeah,
New York,
hence
correct?
Tuck on it. I'm sorry.
That's in New York?
Yeah, upstate New York.
Okay. Okay, how do you balance fiction and nonfiction in your writing?
um, I am asked that a lot because it's a lot of people find it hard to go back and forth. For me, I don't have any issues with it. And it's easier for me because if I'm writing, say I'm writing a book on the paranormal, and every writer, they get to a point where they just kind of run out of steam, or they kind of get blocked, you get that writer's block or whatever, then I'll just switch over to one of my fiction stories. So I'm still writing, but I can switch back and forth. My brain, I wish I knew how it worked so I could advise other people on how to do it. It's just, I'm blessed. I'm able to go from talking about astrology or paranormal to sexy romance, like at the snap of a finger. I don't know how I can do it. I just do it.
Have you ever won any awards for any of your writing?
No, but I've never submitted anything. Um, I guess because I write for me. Um, I know a lot of writers out there, they write because they expect to make it big, or to make a living off of it. And some do, Stephen King, what have you, but I write for me. So I guess I'm not looking for that kind of recognition. So I've never really submitted anything.
That's the big thing about it. A lot of people don't understand. They've even asked me over the years, they go, you've won many awards, and why don't you continue with it? And I said, because I'm not there for the fame, I'm there to either help people with the compassion of the paranormal.
Right, right. Writing's
And
gonna an escape for me. Um, I've had a hard life, and I've been through some very traumatic things, and I've discovered that writing is an escape for me. So, yeah, I do it for me. It's therapeutic. And if people buy my books, fantastic. If they don't, great. Still come meet me at the events, like when
yes,
people can meet me at conventions and come up to my table, I don't push my books. I love meeting people. I love talking to them. Um, I'm not one of them pushy type people. Just, if you want to buy it, that's great. If not, that's great too, because I wrote it for me, not the world.
that's right.
Yep.
I was always told in the beginning of my writing career, I couldn't understand why I couldn't, you know, uh, satisfy everybody. And I was told you're not always going to satisfy. You're going to have those people that are going to either bash you, and they go, just remember, when they bash you, it's just a reflection of the person reading the article. And
Right.
I got thinking, yeah, that's kind of right, but sometimes they do have a point of view which is correct as well. And but yeah, I've had backlash over the years and stuff, and sometimes I've hesitated writing on a lot of things too, as lately, especially with articles, because people don't care if you interview other people or whatnot. They just see it as a reflection of your writing.
Hmm.
And I've been attacked for it before, and a lot of times I'll refuse to read a lot of people's messages anymore is because a lot of the stuff I ask them not to complain about, they'll send it to me anyway, and I won't write the article anymore. And that's why you haven't seen a lot of my articles lately. I've posted on Facebook because sometimes I get a lot of backlash, and but the saying always goes, be damned if you do, be damned if you don't sometimes. But I
Right.
like to express myself in music. So if you ever listen to my music, that's an expression of myself.
Hmm.
You know, a lot of it's to do with my road trips through the paranormal and that over the years, and it's a way for me to get my expression out, you know. And but
Yeah, it's especially nowadays with social media, there are so many trolls out there. There are so many people that are so quick to put down somebody else's work. Um, but I just had this conversation with one of our authors the other day because they were kind of getting down on themselves, and I told them the same thing. Write for you. Don't write for anybody else. And as far as the
yeah,
trolls out there, they're miserable people. They have nothing better to do. And I guarantee you they're not sitting down writing books. I just
exactly.
you gotta kind of have thick skin when it comes to opinionated people. And their opinions don't matter. It they just don't. Not to me anyway. I don't care. I'm gonna write for me. And when I sit down and write one of my fiction stories, and I'm going back through it to edit it or reread it or whatever, review it, I make myself laugh because I love throwing in comedy into the romance and erotica because it just breaks up the monotony. But
Yes.
I crack myself up when I'm writing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm enjoying myself, so I don't care what y'all think.
Yes. Uh, so have you ever done anything hunts like in the Bigfoot and stuff like that? Mothman, censored from the States.
um, no, I don't really. That's not. I really don't get into much of the cryptids and I've read articles and especially from being at Hinsdale because there's so many more facets to Hinsdale rather than just paranormal. But yeah, I really don't. I'm more paranormal than anything. Um, I will say that I saw my first shapeshifter at Hinsdale, and up until that point, it's not that I didn't believe. I just hadn't seen them, like I see ghosts and spirits and energy imprints and everything. So it was just one of them things that, I
Yes,
kind of knew that they were out there, but until I see it, I don't have really an opinion. And I saw my first one up there, and it's an experience that I will never forget. But even after seeing that, I didn't jump in and do a lot of research and study. I already knew a lot about shapeshifters and everything, but I pretty much stick to spirituality and paranormal more than anything.
yeah, I've been the same way over the years because if you ever followed me through social media and that, I've always either did residential homes, abandoned places, historical buildings. You know, that's always
Mhm.
attracted my attention, and I've done graveyards, but I've never myself went out looking for Bigfoot or anything like that. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm very open. That's one thing my mom taught me very early was if we're arrogant to think that we're the only creatures roaming this earth, something's wrong.
yes,
And she's right. I mean, just because you haven't seen it yet or experienced it doesn't mean it's not there.
that's
And,
correct.
I have a very open mind when it comes to anything supernatural.
Like a lot of people tell me, they go, "God's not real." I said, "How do you know? Can't see him." I always reply, "Do you see Wi-Fi? Do you breathe? Do you see the air you breathe? You know, certain things like that." They're like, "No." I said, "Well, how do you believe in them?" Because my
Right.
device working. I said, "Well, don't you ever think without God's creation, we wouldn't be here?"
Yeah. I mean, I agree with, just there's things out there that we're not meant to understand and we're not meant to see, but I
That's
think we're
good.
meant to feel them. And, you know, I'm not, I don't know how to put this. I'm not a godly person. I refer to it as the universe, like universal energies is what I feel. And
Yes.
that's, you know, a part of being of a higher power. I feel it, so I know it's there. I can't see it all the time, you know, but I see it in nature. I see, you know, things like that that the universe has created that I see as a miracle or something that's just, you know, beyond a higher power. It's beautiful. So, yeah.
What do you think about how they say the word I'm looking for, dimensional worlds? And they say how our universe could be going forward, but there could be another dimension of our time actually going backwards. What
Um,
is,
are you talking about like alternate universes?
yeah.
Okay. Um,
What would your thoughts be on that?
I believe they exist, and I think that's somehow contributed to past lives. I think that's contributed to deja vu moments. Um,
Thank
I think
you.
there's certain things that sometimes are different dimensions coexist with one another for, you know, even if it's a split second. Um, so I do believe that there are alternate universes out there. I just don't think that we're meant to be a part of.
Understand it yet? Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason why I asked that question is I'm not many people I ask that question, but it sounds like you know more about mediumship than most I know.
Hmm.
You're deeper into it like myself. And I've always thought that same question myself. And that's why I had to thank you in between when you're speaking there.
It was a good question.
Yeah. You know, usually I don't ask that question, but I had to. So, but you hit the nail on the head with my thoughts. So, uh, I had a bunch of questions written down. I ran out of them all, but I had another one on the top of my head here, and I just lost it.
It happens. It's all good.
Yeah. Oh, it was about your Oracle cards. Do you
What about?
just do Oracle, or do you do both Tarot and Oracle?
Um, I've only created Oracle so far. I just finished my fifth deck, and this one is it's like my, because I was talking earlier about my afterlife Oracle, the one that was designed for paranormal investigating. This
Yes.
one's a little different from what you normally see too. It's more of a daily pull, like, you know, you would pick one card daily, and it's more of like a spell a day kind of thing. So in other words, you pick a card and it'll tell you, you know, what you need to focus on for the day. So, you know, if you need psychic recharging, you'll pick that card. It'll tell you what color candle to use, you know, what scents to use, like incense or oils, things like that. It's just kind of like a daily, and it has a positive affirmation, like a mantra that you say every day. So this
Yeah.
one's a little different than all my other ones. This one is definitely one that you use every day, not just when you want to do a reading. So I'm very excited about this one. The images are phenomenal, and um, I'm the type of person, I want people to focus on their strengths. I want people to um, when they, you know, deal with self doubts and fear and things like that. I want people to be able to pull one of these cards And, you know, depending on the card that they pick, it's something that they're going to be going through emotionally or spiritually, and that card is going to help them, you know, see their worth and focus on a mantra that they can use creative visualization with. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah.
But creative visualization is just literally a mantra or a positive affirmation that you say over and over and over again. And eventually the universe kind of works with you with that affirmation and pulls that energy together with yours and makes things happen that you want. So if you're looking for a new job, or, you know, looking for a new love or that kind of thing, these cards are going to help you manifest what you need. So these cards are more or less just to try and focus on your strengths and show you your value and help you manifest what you want in your life.
Yes. Okay. Do you have any upcoming events not coming up in the future?
I do. October 18th and 19th, I will be in Girard, Ohio at the Metroplex. This is my 20th event with this event coordinator. She's amazing, Laura. We found each other in 2016. I did my first event with her, and she does 2 a year. And I've been with her from the get-go, from the very beginning. So we had one in May, and then we're having another one next month. And excuse me, I do readings Saturday and Sunday. I'm always booked solid. Saturdays, I usually don't even get a break. They actually have to bring me water and coffee to keep me hydrated and recharged, because I do readings from 10 in the morning till 6 at night straight. No breaks whatsoever on Saturdays. People come in and sign up to see me, and I don't want to make them wait, so I sit and do my readings. But that's in, like I said, Girard, Ohio, October 18th and 19th. And then November 8th and 9th, I will be at the Dark History and Horror Convention in Champaign, Illinois. So that one I'm very excited about. It's my first one. So the man that's holding the event is one of our authors as well, and Brian L. Ward. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one. And then after that one, I am hibernating, not doing any more events until spring comes back.
Yes. Another question I got for you. Do you do ghost tours, and have you done ghost tours, or do you have any upcoming ghost tours in the future?
Um, I've done a couple in the past, but I'm not a fan of public investigating. Um, I have a lot of trouble because I've tried to do them in the past, and I've ended up with, now mind you, this is, I don't know how to come off as not sounding strict, but I take investigating very seriously.
Yes.
And there's a time and place for everything. So I've done public ghost tours with people in the past, and I've had women show up that were wearing high heels, and the place is all wooden floors. So you have the heels clicking on the floors all night. You have women that wear tons of jewelry and it jingles, and I'm very big on noise contamination, so if we're doing EVP sessions, I expect, it to be quiet so you can actually communicate. Like, I'm not there to entertain. I'm there to communicate with spirits. And that's really hard for me when people don't take it seriously, or, will talk over when somebody's asking questions or communicating with the spirit. I've been on a couple where I've had to actually ask people to leave the tour because they were provoking, and I don't do that. there's no reason to provoke a spirit. There just isn't. They're gone. They're on the other side. You know, being like that with a spirit, to me, I don't care what the spirit did when they were living. It has nothing to do with us. We're not there to judge. We're there to communicate and find out why they did it. You know, what kind of, you know, energy are they in now after the fact, that kind of thing. So when people go in and want to provoke and, you know, act like Mr. Tough Guy, I can't handle it. I have very little patience. So I don't do them very often.
I know I did them right up till last year. I stopped because I ended up with into a bad accident. I was hit by a car. I had a fractured skull, fractured face, bone or facial structure here, bleeding of the brain in 2 spots. So I basically had to step down, had no choice. So
Oh, honey, geez.
yeah, so I got mangled up pretty bad. My son got hit too, but thankfully he was able to get up and walk away from it. So thankfully,
Jeez.
so
Do you think you'll end up getting back into it? Like investigating at all?
well, I tried, and then it was right up till I think it was this May I had to step down because I'm still going through episodes of getting. I wake up in the morning, I'll be dizzy. If I get too tired, I get dizzy. Sometimes if I'm on my feet for like an hour, it feels like 4 hours, and it just got to the point where I just couldn't do it much more anymore. I stepped back. Thankfully, I had this show planned like 6 months before I stepped down, and all I had to do was do this touching to it, which I'm still touching up on it here and there. So I'm trying to keep alive in the paranormal field by my researches and that, you know, and trying to bring people like you into the spotlight. So
Mm. I mean, have you thought about writing? I mean, I know you write articles. You wrote one for me that was just absolutely phenomenal
yeah,
last year. But have you thought about maybe writing while you're having your downtime, like a book, not just article?
well, I thought about a book, but I ended up getting into the music,
Gotcha.
and I'll send you some videos of just not my music, but I'll also send you a video of me and the band players together, band members together. I usually don't post that online because I'm saving that for a special moment.
Okay.
So I'll show you who the band members are anyway, and that. So
Oh, I love that. I love music. I love um, music is something that for me, I don't listen to it. I feel it,
yes,
and I'm yeah, I'm huge music lover, no doubt.
and like everybody goes, you write good music. I said, yeah, but every song that you hear, I said, a lot of them, I said, aren't me, but there's a lot of them that are my voice.
Mhm.
So I'm going to end up putting a contest out soon, and I'm going to try to get people to figure out, because me and another guy almost have a similar voice when we sing. So I'm going to try to see if people can actually figure out whose voice is whose. So
Mhm. Do you write your own lyrics, or are you like a cover band?
I write my own lyrics,
Awesome. I
and
had.
then
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
from there we sit there and we try to put it all together, and then from there we start practicing that. And the funniest part I don't like is in the beginning when we first start trying to get a song to get together and flow. It doesn't sound too pleasant in the beginning. And a lot of people don't understand some of these songs can take up to a year, year and a half just to get the composing part done. You know, with timing, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
I've had a couple songs on the radio.
Hmm.
Uh, but like I said, trying to, the lyric part's easy. All I have to do is, I used to love it when I was at work because the beat of the music, I worked in a recycling pit, and some of the machines actually had a good beat when you started feeding them good, right? And when I mean feeding them good, you get to a rhythm. And that rhythm, man, you can get into a good humming sound. And the one day I ended up writing a song right there at work because of the sound of the machinery. And I came home and grabbed the one instrument I got here, and I started playing with it. And I thought, that actually flows. And I couldn't believe it. But what got me inspired into music was my one friend looked at me. I write poetry, and he looked at me and he goes, "Have you ever wrote music?" I said, "No, I don't even know where to begin." He goes, "You already have." Like, what do you mean? He goes, "Poetry." He goes, "Start putting that into music." And he goes, "From there," he goes, "I can teach you along the way on how to make other songs not flow into other certain, I forget the word that he said to me right now. But anyways, we sat down and talked, and sure enough, he took my one poem and he got on his guitar and he actually put a beat behind that poem. And I thought, that's impossible. There's no way he did that. And he did. He sat there right in front of me and did it. And I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
And
I've done that too. I write poetry too. I've done it since I was a teenager. Um, but in 1991, I was assaulted, and I was put through a lot of traumatic situations during the assault, and my poetry got very dark and dismal, just because that's where my mind was.
yes,
And a friend of mine, his name's Joel. He's a one man band. He's called Grim Rock, and him and I were talking a couple years ago, and he knew that I wrote poetry, and he says, "Hey, I'm trying to put an album together." He says, "Do you have anything that I might be able to use?" And I started going through my poetry, and I found one that I had titled Abyss. And I wrote that about a year after the assault. And it's just how I was feeling, like I was in a dark abyss, and it was just in a bad way, mentally and physically. So I sent it to him, and like you said, he took my words and turned it in, put music to it, and composed this amazing. It's kind of a slow rock song, and we've been on the radio. He's sold albums, and it's probably one. It's not something I ever thought I would do. I mean, it's not every day your poetry gets turned into a song, and at that
exactly.
time, that particular poem meant so much to me because of how I was feeling back then. And to hear it in a song is just something else. And there's certain parts in it that he added, some sound effects that really timed in perfectly with how my mind was going. Very chaotic, very dark. And he hit it. He knew somehow that's how I was feeling when I was writing this. And yeah, it's been one of my most favorite achievements.